Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of Superhero Deep Dive. I have a pretty interesting episode planned today. Before I get into it, let me give my normal disclaimers and let me do a preemptive apology. My family went out on a scout camping trip this week. So it's been just me in the house, and that means I don't have anyone to occupy the dogs while I'm recording. That also means that they can randomly burst out into random beagle, bark, yell, howl type things and tapping on the hardwood floors and barking at anything in general. So if that happens, I'm sorry, because I don't re-record anything. I just go through. So we're gonna bear through it. But as always, this information is pulled from different sources across the internet and may or may not be completely complete, but they do give a really good insight on the current superhero. Also, if you are catching me on where you listen to your favorite podcast, thank you very much. You can also listen to me on Outworld Fleet Radio if you like internet radio. Their website is www.un-con-ventional.com/radio. They air my show and they air my show Tuesdays and Thursdays, but they air a lot of other shows that are really cool. That go anywhere from, I think, poetry to different sci-fi aspects. The whole culture. It's amazing. And also, if you want, you can catch me on YouTube. I upload this podcast in a slideshow form, so you get to see the hero every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. So you may actually get to listen before the podcast gets put out wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So there's that. But I am trying to boost my subscribers and watch time and stuff like that. So if you can catch me under Superhero Deep Dive. Please subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. It would really mean a lot to me. If I can get up to 500 subscribers, then I will do a giveaway, and then I'll do another one at 1,000. So I think that would be tremendous. And yeah, like I said, it would really help me out. Even if you just put on the video in like another tab on your browser and then mute the tab or something and just let it run and play in the background. It just helps me beat the algorithm so I can expand the channel. Let me see here. What else? Oh, you can catch me on Twitter and Instagram under Super Deep Dive. And I use the hashtag Superhero Deep Dive. And you can always email me directly. I do get emails quite frequently. And I get DMs and stuff, especially on Instagram. So thank you for that. But you can email me at b4itall, so b4itall@yahoo.com. Okay. So with that being said, I am going to be talking about the hero Silk from Marvel Comics. She was kind of put in as a secondary Spider-Man character, even though there's like, the Spider-Man family is kind of like DC's, or it's Marvel's version of the Batman family. I mean, there's so many spider people. It's insane. But that's how it is. She's got a really interesting take on her origin, and yeah. Let's get into it. Like, her name is Cindy Moon, and it says 13 years ago during a demonstration on the use of radioactive rays at a science exhibit, a spider is accidentally exposed to large amounts of radiation. In its dying moments, the arachnid bites Peter Parker, and as a result, the young teenager gains amazing powers and becomes Spider-Man. Now, why am I telling you this? Because it all connects. However, this is not the end for that spider. Mere moments after biting Parker, Parker, they always show in the movies and stuff, like, he smacks it, and kills it. But what if he just kind of like goes, and brushes it away? Well, mere moments after biting Parker, the spider bites another young student named Cindy Moon. So what if he kind of brushed it off, it landed on Cindy and bit her ass too. You know, like, that's not cool. But so soon after, Cindy's abilities, including organic webbing, unlike Peter, manifest, but she is unable to control them. Sometime later, someone named Ezekiel approaches the Moon family to offer his help and guide Cindy in controlling her newfound abilities. After 6 years of training to use her powers, Cindy is locked up inside a facility by Ezekiel, and to protect her and other spiders, quote unquote, from Moreland and his family called the Inheritors. And Moreland is like, it's kind of like a vampire family is the best way to describe it. There was a whole storyline about like spider totems and stuff. Really convoluted, really confusing to follow everything. But it did lead to some really cool, it was kind of the basis in spirit or in essence to the Spider-Verse. You know, so it has a place. I just don't like it. I mean, the story was just convoluted. It was hard to keep up with everything. Alright, but 7 years later, during the original Sin storyline, Spider-Man is exposed to the energies of the Watcher's Eye. He receives a vision of the radioactive spider that bit him also biting Cindy Moon and learns what happened to her afterwards. Spider-Man immediately goes on to search for Cindy to break her out of the facility Ezekiel had kept her in. And after freeing Cindy, she attacks Spider-Man in a fit of rage, saying that she has doomed them all. Spider-Man calms Cindy down by telling her that Moreland is dead, and Cindy makes her way out of the facility to finally see the city of New York, stopping only to make a costume out of her webbing. She tells Spider-Man to refer to her as Silk. Silk is heartbroken to find that her family has moved. Silk and Peter also find that they are powerfully attracted to each other due to their shared spider sense. That's actually a pretty cool kind of like niche in their power set. Like they get really excited to be around each other, and it's because of the spider sense. Like, they don't have to like each other, they just really want to be what they do. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it like it's family friendly. It's not working. So Silk finds out that Moreland might still be alive, which causes her to attack Peter with her butt. However, their attraction makes them kiss. See, so I wasn't lying after all. Peter stops as soon as Cindy begins to remove his mask, after which they move back to Peter and Anna Maria's apartment. Afterwards, Peter and Cindy go to the Fact Channel's news station, where they are attacked by Black Cat and Electro. While Silk is easily able to dodge Electro's lightning bolts thanks to her hyper speed and senses. Hyper spider speed. Oh, yeah. And senses. Spider-Man isn't as lucky. Black Cat then goes after the paralyzed superhero and begins to unmask him in front of live TV. Luckily, J. Jonah Jameson takes up too much space in front of the camera, preventing the camera and anyone else from seeing Peter's face. Silk quickly spins a temporary mask for Peter and escapes with him back into Peter and Anna Maria's apartment. At the waterfront where Parker Industries will be holding the demonstration for their new device meant to cure Electro, Cindy spins Peter some Electro-insulated webbing to prevent what happened during their last fight with Electro from happening again. When the fight begins, Black Cat sabotages the machine, which causes Electro to go out of control and hit a helicopter. Silk hurries and begins spinning porous webs to catch the crashing helicopter. Now, see, this is something that I've never really understood. Spider-Man has made new suits. Even if it's the same design, he has fixed his suits. Why not just put some kind of like, if he can make spider webs, like if he can make web fluid, he can make some kind of insulation in his suit to protect himself against Electro for future stuff. why hasn't he done that? That's just really bad planning. She then creates an insulated web pod to contain the inevitable explosion of energy coming from Electro. The entire incident ends with a depowered Electro and a missing black cat. Afterwards, Cindy gets accepted for a job at the Fact Channel where she intends to use the information center in order to find her family. Okay, there is more history to her, but I stopped there. Mainly because, like at one point she went to a therapist because she had crippling anxiety. She joined another superhero team that was all Asians, because she is Asian American, and I just didn't feel like there was a whole lot contributing to her character. It was all like filler stuff, Like today, Sydney Moon goes to, goes to pick up a newspaper and sees a Spanish ad and realizes she knows Spanish now too. Like, come on. Like, they just haven't developed the character a whole lot. They started out really strong. I like the premise of, what if Peter wasn't the only person that spider bit? Like, what if the spider survived or something like that? And then, I know that there were some complaints about the character originally because she got taken from her family and put into like a research facility to help her hone her powers. We have to remember that this was an Asian household or Asian American household. I cannot speak for all Asian Americans. I myself am part Japanese. My grandmother is straight out of Japan. She fell in love with an American during World War II, and she was actually stoned in the streets because she fell in love with an American. So I have exposure to Asian households. It's not just what you see on TV. So with that being said, I know that Asian families are all up in each other's businesses every chance they get. Like every single chance they get. In fact, where I live now is about 3 hours away from my hometown, and there were many reasons I decided to move, but one of those reasons was definitely because I didn't want to be all up in my family business, just up in everyone's business. I wanted to kind of venture out on my own and establish myself. But so when they find out, about her powers and they want to get her taken care of and they want to put her in a lab, that makes sense. As messed up as it is, it makes sense in the Asian mindset, I guess, just because of how involved Asians are in general in each other's lives. And there's nothing wrong. And if I'm wrong, please let me know in a respectful manner, of course, because I don't mean any disrespect. I'm only speaking on my understanding and my personal experiences. So take that for face value. I mean, that's what it is. So that makes sense. And I think they started off really strong with the character. I just don't know how much they had planned. But let's get into her powers. Now, Cindy gained similar abilities to Peter Parker when she was bitten by the same radioactive spider that gave him his abilities. And though her spider sense, which she calls her silk sense, is far stronger than Peter's. And I think that's because she has been in a controlled setting, in a lab setting, where they have taken time to hone her abilities. Whereas Peter Parker when he got his abilities, he went out and he started using them. which is a whole different kind of mindset. His may not be as strong, but he can actually probably use them in a whole lot more situations. He's got experience over the knowledge. She has more knowledge over the actual experiences, if that makes sense. Let's see here. On their first meeting, Peter observed that she was even faster than him, though not quite as strong, which makes sense. She also has the ability to shoot webs out of her fingertips, and she has an eidetic memory, which is the ability to recall an image from memory with high precision for a brief period after seeing it only once, and without using a mnemonic device. So she's almost got like a photographic memory, pretty much, which is cool. So she can do everything that Peter can. She's a bit faster. Her spider sense is a bit honed, which if she's in a lab and they're trying to test it and stuff, they're probably doing very specific things, which makes her maybe more precise with it. So we're looking at speed and precision from Cindy Moon. Maybe the ability to do the webs on her own, maybe that's because the spider maybe bit her longer. I don't know. Maybe whatever irradiated venom the spider had, maybe that was just part of that venom that came in. Like, maybe Peter didn't get a full dose, and if the spider landed on Cindy and bit her, then maybe it got that part. I don't know. It's weird, but I think that it makes a little bit of sense to me if we expand on it. Like, what if Peter had that bite for like a 100th of a second, a 1,000th of a second longer? What if he didn't brush it off so fast or something? What if he could have gained that ability to form webs instead of having to develop the web formula? I don't know. It's weird, but it leaves those questions, and I personally like those kind of questions because they mean possibilities. Okay. But yeah, that's really it. I mean, we all know Spider-Man's abilities. He's had a bunch of movies. He's all over the place, so he's a household name. I don't need to go into that anymore. Cindy Moon, fun facts. She appears actually in the live-action film set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, portrayed by Tiffany Espenson. She first appears in Spider-Man Homecoming as a classmate of Peter Parker and Decathlon team member. She also makes a cameo appearance in Avengers Infinity War, when Ned Leeds causes a distraction to allow Spider-Man to help the Avengers. Cindy was not seen again afterwards on that one. So maybe she was part of the blip. Sony Pictures was developing a film based on Silk, set in the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters. Which is not the most fun idea, but whatever. Cindy Moon, or Silk, was originally considered to appear in the animated film Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but the filmmakers chose to use Penny Parker instead. Despite this, Silk will appear in a spin-off film focusing on 3 generations of female Spider-related characters, alongside Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, and Gwen Stacy, Spider-Gwen. Here's the thing. I was talking to a friend of mine about doing the podcast on Silk. And he asked, because he is a big Spider-Man fan, he asked about Spider-Gwen. And then we started getting into this debate about who was better, Spider-Gwen or Silk. And they both have really cool costumes. Timetable speaking, I think they came out about the same time. It's really hard. It's really hard to decide which one you like better. but I think they definitely gave more attention to Spider-Gwen, which I don't know how I feel about that. I'm personally more of a Silk fan than Spider-Gwen, but that's mainly because I think her story is a little bit more feasible. But that's just me. I'd love to know what you guys think. So let me know in the comments. Or email me at b4itall, so b4itall at yahoo.com. Or, yeah, you can let me know on Instagram or Twitter under Super Deep Dive. But yeah, I would absolutely love to know your thoughts. Let's do this debate. Silk versus Spider-Gwen. That's going to happen. And that might have to happen soon. I've got 3 other requests that I've already committed to. So, yeah, we're going to have this debate. Let's see, that might be July. First one in August. First podcast in August. That's going to happen. I'm making a note of it. All right, it's official. Let me see here. What else? Okay, a live-action TV series based on Silk is in the works at Sony Pictures Television. Amazon Prime is in talks to distribute the series. Silk also appears as an unlockable character in Spider-Man Unlimited. She appears as an unlockable character in Marvel's Avengers Alliance. And appears as an unlockable character in Marvel's Avengers Academy during the Spider-Man Homecoming event. She is an unlockable playable character in Marvel Future Fight and Marvel Puzzle Quest. Let's see, what else is she unlockable in? In Lego Marvel Superheroes 2. She's a playable figure in the Superior Foes of Spider-Man set of HeroClix. And has an action figure in the Marvel Legends line as part of the Space Knight Venom Build-A-Figure set. So, you know, they've definitely given her exposure, which is cool. She needs that. But what do you guys think of Cindy? Like, she's very lackluster, right? Like, I mean, just let me know. Like I said, you can leave a comment, like, subscribe, share the video. Help me grow the channel. It's Superhero Deep Dive on YouTube. I'm under Super Deep Dive under Twitter and Instagram. You can email me at b4itall at yahoo.com. So b4itall at yahoo.com. Let me know what you think. Like, and let's start this discussion. The Silk versus Spider-Gwen. Yeah, this will be great. But let's get into the power expansions. This is the part where I go and I look at the character, say, do they need a movie? Do they need a new comic series? Do they need an animated series? Do they need a live action series? Like, what can we do with this character to make it go up to the next level? You know, because that's the point. That's the point. We've become inundated with superhero movies, comics, media, all over the place. I mean, it's become its own genre now, which has been a childhood dream of mine. I grew up loving comic books, loving superheroes. So this is all just insanely fantastic to me. It is burning my wife out though. Like she is getting tired of the constant superhero stuff. But yeah, but I'm loving it. So, you know, this is just one of those things. But with Silk, there was a lot of information, like I said before, that was left out. Mainly because I didn't think it really helped form her character. It just seemed to be more filler than anything else. Now, Marvel made Silk to be a female counterpart to Spider-Man, but it seems like they didn't want to build her in the same way that they did Peter Parker. And when I say that, I mean, like, Peter Parker went through trials and tribulations. He failed. Like, he made a lot of mistakes in his early comics. And it just didn't seem like they wanted to do that with Silk. And I think that was a mistake. What I'd like to see is her in the next Spider-Verse movie, with a major part, and building her from there. And before I go any further with that, I just have to make a mention. My episode on the Spot was done before the announcement that Spot will be a villain in the next Spider-Verse movie. I did a deep dive on Spot. You should check it out because he is really interesting as a character. And I'm hoping that they do well with Spot on the next Spider-Verse movie. But I did that podcast and then like a couple days later or something, they released the image, which was insane. Like I literally had a couple emails and a couple of my friends that listen, they called me or texted me and they were like, what the hell? So, who knows what I'm going to call next, and we'll see. But anyways, I think for Silk, I think we need to have Silk be a major part in the next movie, but then give her an animated series of her own. And in the 2000s, early 2000s, MTV did a Spider-Man series where it was almost like a cell shading style. Like it was this kind of weird animation style, but I liked it, and I think that they should do that for Silk. Because with her attitude, with her being kind of a perfectionist, with her being exact and mathematically precise, I think it would be perfect. But let's have her start from the beginning. Let's have her getting bitten by the spider, going to the lab, training, becoming a more disciplined hero than Spider-Man has ever been. But let's also have her be naive in the fact that, I guess the best way to describe her character would be similar to the Wasp in the Ant-Man movies. Like, she knows how to do a lot of stuff, but she knows how to do it all like on paper. When it comes to real life situations where things can change, I just bit my tongue if you wondered about that weird sound bite. Sorry, but yeah, if you saw like the Wasp has a plan and she knows how to do these scenarios, but what happens if things change up? It's really hard to adapt, and I think that's what we need to focus on. Like, she's not gonna be, with being in a controlled situation, controlled environment, she can probably handle herself better than anyone, better than Spider-Man. But when it comes to thinking on the fly and handling things that may change, I think that's where she's going to struggle. And I think that's what we need to show. We need to kind of exploit that. How well can she do in a real world setting as opposed to the lab setting? And I want to see Silk grow as a character and develop. She's not just a copy of Spider-Man, or at least she doesn't have to be. Like, when I first saw Silk, I immediately thought she was just a throwaway character. Because, it was kind of like weird. You grew up with Spider-Man, and then, 30 years later or something, you're like, oh, look, the spider bit someone else, and no one ever knew about it this whole entire time. It seems like a throwaway character. It was a reach. But she doesn't have to be. Like, she can have her own place in the Marvel Universe. And I think we need to give her a solid chance to shine instead of just throwing lazy writing her way. And the reason I'm saying that is because, literally, I took like a couple paragraphs of her history out of everything that was written because there just wasn't a whole lot of development. They're just throwing her in situations. Let's really have her develop. Like, we have these people that grow up in sheltered lives, pretty much. They're in these kind of controlled environments, and then what happens when they're out in the real world? We flunk out of college. We have to struggle to figure out things on our own. It's stuff like that, and I can relate to that. And I think a lot of people can, and I think we need to. We can have someone that had grown up in a situation where things were controlled. She had 3 square meals a day. She had a temperature controlled environment. She she knew she had training time, she had study time, she had this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Very regimented with the lab. But what happens when she has to make her own decisions? What happens when, it's just her? Let's explore that, because I think that, especially in this current generation, I think we can all use some of that. Let her make mistakes and then learn to be like, okay, I don't know why this didn't work, but it didn't. And sometimes that happens. It works so well on paper, but it doesn't actually happen in reality. So that's what we should call it. We should call it The Adventures of Silk. Reality bites or something. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Let me know. Once again, my superhero deep dive is listed for YouTube. Super Deep Dive is for Instagram and Twitter, and I use the hashtag superhero deep dive. And you can email me at b4itall, so b4itall at yahoo.com. I'm gonna head out for now. My family's coming in today. The dogs have behaved, so I'm incredibly grateful. But I got to get the house ready for when my family comes, because I miss them terribly. Everyone, be blessed, be happy, be safe, be smart. And if you're not smart, please don't get caught. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.